There's a good chance you've already heard the advice. Open a Roth IRA. Maybe you even did. But here's the uncomfortable part. A huge number of people open a Roth IRA, put money in it, and then make one quiet mistake that means it barely grows for years. They think they're investing. They're not. I'll show you exactly what that mistake is and how to check in about 60 seconds whether you're making it right now. Because when a Roth IRA is used correctly, it's about the closest thing to a cheat code that regular people get. Your money grows, and you never pay tax on those gains again. Let me show you how it actually works. Let's clear up the single biggest point of confusion first, because it's the root of that mistake. A Roth IRA is not an investment. Say that again in your head. A Roth IRA is not a stock. It's not a fund. It's not something that goes up or down on its own. A Roth IRA is a bucket. Think of it exactly like that, an empty bucket with a special label on it. The label says, anything that grows inside this bucket is never taxed again. That's the magic. But the bucket itself does nothing until you put something in it. What do you put in it? Investments. The same index funds we've talked about, something like an S&P 500 fund. You put money into the Roth bucket, then you use that money to buy investments that sit inside it. Those investments grow. And because they're in the Roth bucket, that growth is yours, completely tax-free. So there are really two steps, and people forget the second one. Step 1, put money in the bucket. Step 2, actually buy investments with it. Hold on to that picture bucket, then fill it, because in a couple of minutes it's going to explain the most common Roth IRA mistake in the world. First, let me convince you why this bucket is worth the effort. Because once it clicks, you'll want to do this today. In a normal investment account, when your investments grow and you sell, you owe tax on the profit. It's called capital gains tax, and it can take 15 to 20% of your gains. In a Roth IRA, you put in money you've already paid income tax on. But from that moment on, everything that happens inside the bucket is tax-free. The growth, tax-free. And when you take it out in retirement, tax-free. The government does not touch your gains. Ever. Let me make that real. Say you put in a few $1,000s a year in your 20s and 30s, and it grows the way the stock market historically has. Over decades, that can turn into hundreds of thousands of dollars of growth. In a regular account, you'd owe tax on all of that growth. In a Roth, you owe nothing. We're not talking about saving a few bucks. For a lifetime of investing, we're talking about tens, even hundreds of thousands of dollars that stay in your pocket instead of going to taxes. That's why people who understand money max this thing out every single year. It's one of the best deals the tax code gives ordinary people. So why do so many people barely benefit from it? Here it is. The mistake I promised you at the start. People open a Roth IRA. They transfer in their money $500, $1,000, a few $1,000s. They feel great. They think, done, I'm investing for retirement. But they only did step 1. They put money in the bucket. They never did step 2. They never actually bought any investments. So their money just sits there as cash, doing nothing for months, sometimes for years. Remember the bucket. They filled it with water and then never used the water. The tax-free magic is real, but it only matters if something inside is actually growing. Cash sitting in a Roth grows about as fast as cash sitting anywhere else, basically not at all. This is shockingly common. People check back after 2 years expecting growth and find the exact amount they put in, almost to the dollar, and they assume investing doesn't work. It worked fine, they just never started it. So here's your 60-second check. Log into your Roth IRA. Look at what's inside it. If you see your money labeled as cash or settlement fund or money market and nothing else, that's the signal. Your money is parked, not invested. The fix takes 2 minutes. Inside the account, you search for a fund like an S&P 500 index fund, click buy, enter the amount and confirm. Now the money in your bucket is actually invested, and the tax-free growth can finally start. If you've got a Roth sitting in cash right now, that's the most valuable thing you'll do all week. Pause this, go check, then come back because next we need to talk about the rules. Okay, the rules. This is where people get intimidated and give up. Don't. There are really only a few that matter, and they're simpler than they sound. Rule 1. There's a yearly contribution limit. For 2026, you can put in up to $7,000 a year if you're under 50, and a bit more if you're older. You don't have to hit that. You can start with $50 a month. The limit is just the ceiling. Rule 2. The money you put in has to be money you've already earned from working a paycheck, self-employment. You can't fund a Roth from, say, investment winnings alone. Rule 3. Income limits. This is the one people worry about, usually for no reason. If you earn a very high income, your ability to contribute directly to a Roth starts to phase out. But for most people earning a normal salary, you're well under the line and you qualify with room to spare. And now the rule that surprises everyone in a good way. Because you already paid tax on the money you put in, you're allowed to take that original money, your contributions, back out at any time with no tax and no penalty. Let me be precise because this matters. That's your contributions, the money you put in, not the growth. The gains need to stay until retirement to keep their tax-free treatment. But knowing your contributions aren't locked away forever removes the fear that stops a lot of people from starting. It's a retirement account, but it's not a prison. One more handy detail. You actually get until tax day of the following year to make a contribution for the current year. So there's flexibility. That's it. That's the rulebook most people are scared of. A limit, earned income, an income ceiling most people clear easily, and surprisingly friendly access to your own contributions. Now you might be asking, there's also a traditional IRA. How do I choose? Here's the simple version without the spreadsheet. A traditional IRA flips the timing. You get a tax break now when you put the money in, but you pay tax later when you take it out in retirement. A Roth is the opposite. No tax break today, but everything is tax-free later. So the real question is just, do you want the tax break now or later? And here's the rule of thumb that covers most people watching this. If you're early in your career or in a lower tax bracket today than you expect to be in the future, the Roth usually wins. You pay tax now while your rate is low, and you protect all that future growth. For a lot of people in their 20s and 30s, that's exactly the situation. That's why open a Roth IRA is such common advice for beginners. Not because it's always mathematically perfect, but because for most people early on, it's the smart, simple default. If you're a high earner in a high bracket, it gets more nuanced, but that's a conversation for another video. So let's put it all together, how to actually do this correctly start to finish. 1. Open the account. Go to Fidelity, Vanguard, or Schwab, choose Roth IRA and follow the steps. It's free and it takes about 10 or 15 minutes. 2. Put money in. Link your bank, transfer what you can, even a small amount to start. Automate it monthly if you're able. That's how this becomes effortless. 3. And this is the one nobody can skip, actually buy an investment inside it. Search for a simple index fund, buy it with the money you contributed, confirm. Fill the bucket, then use the water. 4. Leave it alone and keep contributing. The tax-free growth does the heavy lifting over decades. Your only job is to keep feeding it and not panic when the market dips. Do those 4 things and you're not just someone who has a Roth IRA. You're someone who's actually using one, which, as you now know, is a very different thing. And that raises the obvious next question. So here's everything simply. A Roth IRA is a bucket, not an investment, and its magic is that whatever grows inside it is never taxed again. The number one mistake is filling the bucket and forgetting to invest the money, so go check that yours isn't sitting in cash. The rules are friendlier than they look. A yearly limit, earned income, an income ceiling most people clear, and you can always take your own contributions back out. And for most beginners, the Roth beats the traditional IRA because you lock in tax-free growth while your tax rate is low. Now, you might be wondering where the Roth IRA fits next to your 401k and a regular brokerage account. Which one should you actually fund first? Because the order you do it in changes everything. That's exactly what the next video is about. I'll see you there.